Hello and good evening, everyone. Hold on, there we go. Hello and good evening, everyone. Kyle Ryman here again for Soaring Weather, here to give you a daily live weather discussion on this Wednesday, August 12th. Can't speak today. So, a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of what happened over the last few hours with that cold front that came through, and a lot of new weather that we're going to be talking about for this daily live weather discussion. So without further ado, we'll talk about what has happened over the last few hours and what is currently going on right now. So as we look outside, temperatures are in the mid to upper 70s for much of New Jersey. Again, that northeast corner of New Jersey still in the 80s like we saw yesterday. So some areas of New Jersey are in the 80s, but for the most part we're in the mid to lower 70s as we cool down from that cold front that came through, and it's still in our area for the most part. As we look at winds right now, we're going to be seeing relatively calm winds across the Garden State, almost at a standstill yet again for the third day in a row. Most I see is 6 mile an hour winds up in northeast New Jersey, and so for the most part, generally calm winds, at most 5 mile an hour winds across the state. As we look at total rainfall across the state over the last few hours, we've had quite a decent amount of rainfall for some parts of South Jersey. If I can find precipitation, here we go. And we'll look at today's overall precipitation. So that may account the overnight showers that we saw earlier today, or this morning rather. So as we look at our totals for the day, we're looking at half an inch to an inch total of rainfall for portions of South Jersey. And unfortunately, or fortunately, if you don't like the rain, not that much rain for the northwest portion of New Jersey, especially Sussex County. Very dry up there, and I was expecting not that much thunderstorm activity in this area of New Jersey. It looks like the highest total we have on the map is 1.45 inches of rain in West Deptford. So some decent amount of rainfall as we look at radar, just to show you what that looked like. I'm going to actually go to this website real quick, and we're going to change this. So we're going to talk about past weather before we go on about what is going on outside right now. We're going to zoom into our area of the U.S. I believe it's that one. So while we wait for that to load, what had happened basically was thunderstorms had begun to pop up in portions of South Jersey, and then it kind of just spread itself out across the state. And we'll go back a few hours just to see how that all started. Some thunderstorms still in portions of West Virginia, and Maryland for that area. But for our area right now, things have calmed down as those thunderstorms have died out, and not much energy is left over in the atmosphere. So while we wait for this to load, we're going to be talking about the tropics with Tropical Depression 11. Probably a tropical storm by this point, but we'll have to take a look at the National Hurricane Center's outlook on that. We'll also be talking about what we're going to be seeing for the next few days in terms of weather here in the Garden State and for our region. And yeah, just talking all weather things for the next few days. Still waiting for this to load. So while we wait for that, I'm going to hop off this just for a second. So that's what has happened over the last few hours. As we look at the Storm Prediction Center at Storm Reports, a lot of reports of strong winds across New Jersey. The majority of these reports are strong winds knocking down power lines, some down trees throughout New Jersey, mainly down South Jersey, as you can see by these blue dots. Each of these is a wind report sent into the Storm Prediction Center. So a lot of this was down in South Jersey, where those really intense thunderstorms kind of just lingered around throughout the afternoon and evening. So a lot of these reports are down power lines and down trees, and that kind of sucks considering that we just starting to recover from Tropical Storm Isaias from last week. So it kind of sucks to see that power lines are going back down yet again. So hopefully all those people down South Jersey get their power back up in the next few hours or so. And I think our radar has loaded. So as you look, this is around 8 o'clock this morning. Going into 12 o'clock is when we see these thunderstorms begin to bloom up. They just kind of just fired up and just stayed in place for the most part as that cold front sweeping through kind of just stalled out. And you can see a little bit of that cold front with those thunderstorms earlier this morning in the overnight hours. So cold front kind of stalls out, and then this big area of severe weather just kind of just flourished. And some areas of thunderstorms and showers kind of developed from an outflow boundary. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it that well on this radar, but as the thunderstorms pop up, you can see a little bit, there we go, just faintly an outflow boundary begins to form, and some thunderstorms pop up very briefly in parts of eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey. So that outflow boundary is still going to be playing an effect in terms of severe weather for parts of eastern Pennsylvania and possibly northwestern New Jersey. So we'll have to take a look at that over the next few hours, see if anything pops up in those areas. That's all we have for what has happened. Now transitioning into what is happening right now. So as I said, that cold front that we were watching from last night, again, here's that low pressure cold front swept down into our area between the overnight hours of last night and to the early hours of this morning, and that was the reason why we had some pretty quick thunderstorms in the overnight hours for parts of central Jersey and some parts of northern New Jersey. And what has happened over the last few hours, this cold front has kind of stalled out and become a stationary front. And that's basically what it means is stop moving, and a boundary between two different air masses that really isn't moving all that much. And we'll talk about what's going to happen with this front over the next few days. In terms of weather alerts, what we're looking at right now is some flash flood watch still in effect for southwest New Jersey, southeastern PA, the entire state of Delaware, and big chunks of the Delmarva area. So we still have a lot of flash flooding issues going into tonight, into possibly tomorrow morning as well. And we can even see in the lighter green and darker red some flash flood and flood warnings have been issued for those areas. So they're seeing some pretty substantial rainfall right now because these thunderstorm cells aren't really moving anywhere, and they're just staying over one spot and dropping all that rainfall. So that's the reason why we're seeing these flash flooding and flood advisories, warnings, watches, etc. being issued for those areas. Now, in terms of the tropics, still watching Tropical Depression 11. I'm going to refresh this just to make sure this is the latest one. But all day, Tropical Depression 11 has been hanging out in the Atlantic. And as of 8 o'clock, still not a tropical storm. So Josephine is going to have to wait for the next few hours. The National Hurricane Center is still keeping it a tropical depression and still forecasting it to become a tropical storm this weekend, but will eventually fade out as it begins to weaken looking into next week. In terms of its track, it's going to be most likely faded out by the time it gets anywhere close to land, but just considering that it doesn't, this is going to be steered out and away from land because of the Bermuda High, and we'll go out right here for a second. So over this area of the Atlantic is what's called the Bermuda High. It's a high pressure area that's semi-permanent over the Atlantic, and it's a big factor for hurricane and tropical cyclone tracks over the hurricane season. So here's our Tropical Depression 11 right over here in this little bit of convection right here. Over the next few days going into next week, if it does stay together, what's going to happen is this high pressure is going to steer it to the north and away from land. So at the most, we'll probably see some rip currents along the east coast and a little bit of rough surf at most for the east coast. So definitely no U.S. impacts. I can't say the same for the Lesser Antilles Islands and parts of Hispaniola. That will probably make a very close approach over the next few days. So that's all I have for what's going on right now in the tropics and then in our area as well. Although I do want to talk about this area. I'm going to highlight that real quick, actually. We're going to just take a look at this area real quick. So I was talking yesterday about this tropical wave off the west coast of Africa. And I noted that there was a lot of convection going on with that tropical wave. And convection just basically means thunderstorm activity, disorganized showers. And it looks a lot, I wouldn't say organized, but definitely a lot of stuff going on here right now. There is no rotation with this tropical wave, so it's not likely to develop into anything over the next 5 days. But the Hurricane Center could outline this area going forward as we move through the rest of the Atlantic hurricane season. So we'll have to watch this area as soon as Tropical Depression 11 comes out of our area. So we're going to talk about weather in our region first before we talk about the future of the tropics and Tropical Depression 11, or soon to be Tropical Storm Josephine. So looking at our future radar, here's some scattered thunderstorms in parts of Baltimore and the District of Columbia area, and that's lining up of what we saw on radar just a few minutes ago. Over the next few hours, we're going to see this bit of thunderstorms just linger over the Baltimore metropolitan area and just dump rainfall. So that's why those flash flood warnings and flood warnings were in effect for those areas. Those thunderstorms are going to linger around in that area for hours before they fade away overnight tonight. So looking at the rest of our area in terms of rainfall, we will not likely be seeing any in the overnight hours, although maybe some pop-up scattered showers will be possible in the overnight hours, but no serious thunderstorm activity like we saw today. Those areas that saw that burst of thunderstorm activity will probably be spared from another round of severe thunderstorms throughout the night going into tomorrow. I can't say the same for parts of central and northern Jersey because there's still some energy left in the atmosphere over those areas. So over the next few hours, some pop-up scattered showers throughout the day tomorrow. As we go look a little bit further using a different model, I'm going to wait for that to load. So here again with this model showing some scattered thunderstorms over the Baltimore metropolitan area, eventually fading out overnight tonight. And throughout the day tomorrow, we could see some pop-up scattered showers or thunderstorms. It looks like it will most likely be just showers throughout New Jersey, mainly due to not that many conditions being as available as they were today. So the amount of energy that is available, lift is not going to be a big thing for tomorrow. So you're not going to be able to get those rising plumes of thunderstorm clouds like we did today. So the most we'll probably see is a strong scattered shower at best for parts of New Jersey. And then going into the next few hours, going into the next day, again, scattered showers for the next few hours. And that's because that cold front has stalled out and will eventually progress its way out of our area over the next few hours. And still linger around and bring us chances for scattered showers throughout the day. Now, talking about the tropics for the future, things aren't looking too good for Tropical Depression 10 in terms of its lifespan. Again, I've talked about two factors that are playing into its future, and that is the dry air over the Atlantic and a nice pocket of wind shear that's going to be in front of Tropical Depression 11. So as we take a look at the humidity product on this model, and that'll show us how much moisture or dryness is in the atmosphere. Here's our Tropical Depression 11 in these areas of blue and purple, and right ahead of it is a lot of dry air in the Atlantic, and that's going to progress its way through the Atlantic with Tropical Depression 11 over the next few days. Although it does look like Tropical Depression 11 does break through that swath of dry air looking into next week. So that's not the biggest factor in terms of its lifespan, but it is interesting to look at the humidity and how much moisture is going to be available for Tropical Depression 11. Now, another factor that I'm going to mention is the wind shear, which is bad for tropical cyclone development. It's going to tear through this tropical depression over the next few days. So here again is our tropical depression in this area of low to moderate wind shear, and over the next few days we're going to see that go over a pocket of very intense wind shear over the Atlantic and Hispaniola, and that's going to tear it up before it even gets a chance to develop into anything further than a tropical storm. And then just ahead of that is a potential vorticity streamer, and basically what that is varying levels of vorticity within the atmosphere. And this is a pretty big one, spanning from the Gulf of Mexico all the way through the Atlantic and parts of also possibly to the southern tip of the Arctic Ocean for this area. That's probably still the Atlantic by this area. So from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to the northeastern Atlantic by the United Kingdoms and Europe. So this area of vorticity is going to tear it up even more than this pocket of wind shear in the Atlantic in the atmosphere. And then going forward with that pocket of wind shear is going to remain there and deter that tropical depression from developing into anything further. So that's why we're looking at Tropical Depression 11 quickly fading out before it even has the chance to get close to land over the next few days. So that is the forecast for the tropics. And as we look at, I'm actually going to open that back up real quick. We're going to look at temperatures throughout the day tomorrow as well, just to give you a better idea of how the temperatures are going to be over the next day going into the weekend. It's definitely going to be a lot better than what we had been seeing this week with temperatures in the lower to mid 90s. We're going to go a little bit further out with this particular model, just to give you an idea of what to expect for the weekend going forward. So here's our surface temperature with this product. We're going to go to right now. And you can actually see on this model, this is forecasted at 18Z. So that would be around, calculate some UTC times in my head, be 20. So this was forecasted, I'd say about 3-4 hours ago. And looking at this model, you could see those pockets of cold air dropping to the surface and then expanding outwards. And that's those outflow boundaries we saw earlier on radar, and with that last post that I had put up before my live stream. So as we go to right now, temperatures again are in the lower to mid 70s. Some areas are still seeing temperatures in the lower to mid 80s. That will cool down tonight going into early tomorrow morning. The coolest temperature will probably still be in the lower 70s. Could drop a little bit cooler than that, probably not that much though. So we're still talking lower to mid 70s throughout the night tonight. And then as we go moving forward, definitely still not as warm as we've seen over the past few days. Highs will barely break into the upper 70s throughout the day tomorrow. So looking at a very mild day for the day tomorrow, and then going forward, it's probably going to be the same story moving forward. Lows for tomorrow night will be substantially cooler, with some seeing temperatures in the upper 60s. So again, seeing some good temperatures if you're liking some moderate and mild temperatures in our area. So it's going to be looking good for the next few days. And then going into Friday, highs will again still be lower than the last few days, but will be warmer than tomorrow as I'm looking at this model. Highest I see is 85. So we're still seeing cooler and modest temperatures over the next few days and going into the weekend. So looking at very comfortable temperatures as the front slowly moves out, and it's going to be very nice for the night and then during the day as well. Now, we haven't looked at humidity yet. Humid conditions have been very persistent over New Jersey the past couple of days. So we're going to just take a look at, actually we're not going to look at this one because that's not really a good indicator of how muggy things are going to be. We're going to look at dew point over the next few days, if I can get it to load eventually. So what we're looking at over the next few days, dew points are going to be in the lower to mid 70s. So again, still holding on to a little bit of mugginess for the day tomorrow. And then you can see some drier conditions coming through from the northwest. What it looks like tomorrow morning moving forward. So dew points are still going to remain in the upper 60s to lower 70s. So still a little bit muggy for the next few days, but not as muggy as the Monday and Tuesday that we've seen for the last few days. So that's a plus if you don't like the mugginess and the warm conditions as well. And as we look at the Weather Prediction Center to look at surface fronts over the next few days, take these with a grain of salt because it's not always 100% accurate as other things are. But it gives us a better idea of what to expect in terms of the big picture. So moving forward, that stationary front is going to slowly move out over the next few days, eventually being out by this weekend. Still bringing us some scattered rain showers over the next few days going into the weekend. And then next weekend going into next week, we're going to be looking at another system potentially making its way through our region. Looking into Monday and then Tuesday right after that. Could be seeing a low pressure system make its way through the area. It looks like a little bit of a dry front in this area of the northeast. And then just to the left of it, just west, is two cold fronts that are going to sweep through our area. But here again, this is 7 days out, so you're always going to have to take this with a grain of salt and just see how this rolls out over the next few days. So that's all I have for our weather discussion for tonight. I'm going to look at one more thing before I close things up here, and that is the spaghetti plots for Tropical Depression 11, just to see what major models are saying right now. So we're going to go to forecast guidance, and we're going to go to AL11. So it looks like, again, the European has kept this a very short-lived system, not even making above Tropical Depression or even past the Lesser Antilles over the next few days. Although one does have it kind of fading out and then reinitializing again as it makes that north turn. And it looks like it does have it becoming a tropical storm, but this is probably just an outlier within this particular ensemble. And then as we look at the GFS, this one's a little weird. Still showing that northwest track, and then what we're looking at as a trend with the GFS is it kind of makes a sharper turn as it turns to the north. Here again, just probably a bit of an outlier with this forecasting ensemble, but as we look at the general patterns with these two, it still keeps it below tropical depression status and very far away from the U.S. over the next few days. So this is going to be a tropical storm. Josephine, we'll have to see over the next few hours just to see how that progresses further. So that'll end our live weather discussion for tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow again at 8 p.m. For the next live weather discussion. We'll talk more about the tropics and what to expect for this weekend. That'll do for tonight. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe. Hope everyone still has power in their homes, and wishing you all the best of safety as we recover from the little bit of severe weather that we had today. Take care, everyone.